Olá, memes. Daniel's Marco back with another video, and before we get into it, this video will contain death and police brutality. And before you ask, it does all pertain with me. And another thing that I will mention is surgery. Yes, it does also have to do with me as well. Right after I started my my hiatus from touring and from the summer tour of 2022 in early August, all seemed to be fairly well. I gotten a new job. My mother, she had moved from South Carolina, and it came to stay with us temporarily until she could get a place of her own. I was making good money. One day I decided to go for a walk in the neighborhood. Let's backtrack a little bit. Before any of us had moved into the neighborhood, before anybody had moved into the neighborhood at all, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to get in any more trouble, because I'm technically still under lock and key. I can't name anybody at this point, even though the case has been dismissed, because I still live across the street from them. These white supremacists, they used to own 1/3 of the town, but they sold practically all of it, and they were left with like 75 acres of land, neighborhood wise, and all they own is a park, a big old park, and they converted it to like a country lot, where it's like converted into like an ancient 1800 style land, kind of like amusement park style park. But I'm getting ahead of myself. They sold it to who they thought was going to be like a bunch of rich people, but which they are. I live in an upscale neighborhood, but at first it was a bunch of mixed people, black, white, Latino, but it became a almost entirely black neighborhood, which I live in. And as I said before, they're white supremacists. I was walking through the neighborhood. I had my earbuds in, just jamming out some music, rehearsing, trying to keep my speed up. Thought I would do another show. The white supremacists called the cops on me. I was walking up the driveway. Cops flagged me down, asked if I lived here. I said yes. They didn't believe me. They tackled me to the ground. I told them repeatedly that I lived here. Called for my grandmother and my mother. They repeatedly told them that I lived here. I was trying to struggle to show them my wallet, which I had in my pocket. They thought it was a gun, so they reached for their tasers. And they stunned me. And they started beating me. I was incapacitated. They put me into the police car. My grandmother explained that I was autistic. Even though I was well aware of the situation, I still explained to them that I lived here and I was returning back to my residence. My mother then became distraught and wanted to attack the police. I told my grandmother to please restrain her and get her back into the house, and to meet meet me at the police station. It seemed like forever. We drove and drove and drove to the police station. I asked the police officer to turn on the air. I was sweating like a pig, but instead he turned on the heat. I could have suffered a heat stroke and died. When I got to the station, they put me in a holding area. Started beating me some more. They told me to strip down. I got to my skivvies, and they told me to strip down of that. I told them that I'm an American citizen and I have my rights. And so they beat me until I removed those. And I quickly covered my groin area. Until they gave me a jumpsuit, an orange jumpsuit. They took my fingerprints, and let's backtrack a little bit. A few days prior, I was whittling with my wood whittling tools, and I'd kind of stabbed myself in the thumb on accident, and even by the slightest touch on the area, it would burst. The wound would burst, and I would start bleeding profusely. And while they were beating me, the wound would burst open and it would start bleeding profusely. So they just kept making it worse, and I was afraid that I might bleed to death. So I just had no choice but to just stick my own thumb in my own mouth like a coward. I still have nightmares where I can taste my own blood. Anyway, while I was in holding, I could hear them telling the other prisoners that I was there because I was beating my mother and my grandmother. So the prisoners started beating me. One of the prison guards, they took pity on me. And he took me to see the nurse, and she dressed my wound and gave me some dinner. And I requested for a private cell for my own safety, which they gave me. What seemed like forever, I slept on this concrete bench until the door opened up and they gave me this plastic tub with a rubber mat in it and a couple of sheets and a thin blanket that looked like it was made from lint. A styrofoam cup and a toothbrush and a washcloth and a bar of soap. I was refused food, and I was refused water. Even though I was there overnight, I was hungry. They had a water fountain in there, but I did not dare to drink from it. Lord knows what lay in the pipes. I held it in because I did not want to catch what diseases lay on them toilets. I saw the judge the next morning, She put my bail at $5,700, and it emptied my bank account nearly. And marked me as a criminal. A few months later, I was called to court again for the trial, and I fought it and was vindicated and was reimbursed for my stay and interest. And the white supremacist has now been removed from the neighborhood and is now in jail for false reporting. I'm not allowed to speak on the exact amount of what I've been compensated with, but it's up there. And I'm happy with my justice. And it's all happened in the span of 2 months. So in early September, I had a cousin of mine die. May she rest in peace. My mother went to the funeral in my place because I had to work. I sent some flowers. My uncle, who was battling a large sum of illnesses to which I cannot name for the life of me, I went to his military state funeral for my aunt. We've grown close over the months since he's passed. And right after the funeral, I came back, and while I was traveling, I had gotten sick with a sinus infection, and Lord have mercy, if that's what COVID feels like, then I don't want anybody to have that, because I was sick from October all the way to Thanksgiving, and thank God there's such a thing as paid medical leave, because I was going through the motions. I mean, through it. And then I kept throwing up, so I lost my voice, so I couldn't record music. All I could do was just record the actual music and not put down vocals. I had pre-recorded vocals so I could lay down some of it, what I wanted. So Christmas came around and went. I celebrated Christmas with family. I stayed at home for the first time and hosted Christmas at home with my mother and my grandmother and my stepfather, so that was nice. My grandmother, she had to have surgery to remove 2 vertebrae in her back. She could have been paralyzed, but thank God she wasn't. I nursed her back to health, helped her. I did most of the cooking. I learned how to cook some new things. It was nice, being depended on. But for the several days that she wasn't at home, it was hard. But I cried when she left. I cried hard because we have a special relationship, me and her. I love her to death. More than my mother. I mean, me and my mother, we have a really, really good relationship, but me and my grandmother, I don't know what I would do without her. I mean, she's my best friend. I mean, more than my actual best friends, more than my peer group. So, yeah. And, something funny happened at the hospital, and I know she doesn't want me to talk about it, so I'm not. But thank God that she made it. Let's see what happened in February. Nothing much really happened in February. She started walking with her walker. March with her cane again, and in April no cane. She doesn't walk with a cane anymore. So in April, I actually had to have a surgery of my own. You know, my third or fourth surgery. It wasn't an elective surgery. I had to have an ingrown toenail removed. Good Lord, and when I tell you them things are painful, and especially as a dancer, but I tell you, it's definitely going to be better with getting on my toes. So, yeah, the first couple of days were really painful, but it's something else. And that's pretty much it. But I'm going to be making more music now that I'm backing out. Oh, and right after my grandmother's surgery, an FMLA didn't pass that I filed, and I got fired from my job because of that. But my grandmother's more important. So I got another job. I didn't really like the job in the first place. It was terrible, but the pay was somewhat good. But the job that I have now is really good. I get to work from home, you know, nearly every day. So it's somewhat better. Oh, what am I kidding? It's really good. But anyway, with that being said, I'm glad I got to update you all and tell you the truth about why I've been absent, especially with my arrest. Because I've been dreading telling you that all. Whether you accept me or for what has happened or not, or whether you laugh or have pity on me, I don't care. I just needed to tell you all. Us Langstons are proud people. We're not shameful people, but I am ashamed of I'm ashamed of what has happened, and it's better to get it out in the open. And with that being said, this is Dangerous Moonwalker with love, LOVE. God bless.